And then when this is finished, watch, this is the important. You see the 3 1?
Mhm.
When the family sits down, can we lower them, please?
Oh, did they want it? Because I think they said, thank you. You know what? I'm so, are we? Okay. Yeah, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, please don't leave any empty. If you need or would like to have a seat, please do so.
Why don't you all
Yeah, go ahead.
sit up there?
Please, I have the keys. Yeah.
Together.
Good morning, everyone. As the service begins, we will lower Lillian's casket and I will recite the traditional formula of burial called Sidukadin, the justification of the final decree. We always recite these words because they remind us that life is very finite and unpredictable. It's also a collective prayer that God is merciful with all of you, both here and virtually, merciful with you as Lillian survived. Atzur tamim polo kichol drachad mishpat el emunav yenavel tzadik yasharhu. Adonai natan, Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevorach. V'hu rachum yichaper avon v'lo yashchit, v'hirba lahashiva po v'lo ya'ir kol kamato. The Lord has given and the Lord has taken away. Praise be God's name. If you're familiar with the Old English translation of the 23rd Psalm, please join with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me on straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Poet by the name of Catherine Mansfield wrote these words. I should like this to be accepted as my confession. There's no limit to you and challenge. When one thinks I've touched the bottom of the sea and I go no deeper, I'll go deeper. But I don't want to die without leaving a record of my belief that challenges can be overcome, and I do believe it. What must one do? Do not resist, accept it fully, and make it a part of life. Everything in life that we really love will one day undergo a change. I chose this poem deliberately because as I learned about Lillian, she had hearing challenges since she was a teenager, and her ability apparently to convert those challenges into a life of music and song, love of the cello, orchestra, and performances clearly indicates her ability to overcome and her resilience throughout her life. During this season of year, we use the expression, the metaphor of a book of life, as you well know, both from Rosh Hashanah all the way through next week's end of Sukkot. And we say that a good book, or a bestseller, as I would call it, has to have three dimensions to it. It should have some length, it should have some depth, and it should have some breadth. By all accounts, Lillian's life was blessed with all three dimensions. And so I'm here today merely as the conduit, the representative of the family. Those of you here today, those of you watching from all over the country, as I learned about Lillian's popularity, both at Riderwood and I'm sure within her family as well, represented here today by cousins and family and by two granddaughters, by one great-granddaughter. It's evident to me that hers was a life well lived, not only because of its length, but also because of its substance and its quality. I would like to acknowledge those who are part of this family, this extended family, as well as to take note and remember husband Jack and son Paul, I'm sure in your hearts and in your minds as well today, along with cousins and family and families, Gail and Isaac and Karen, memory of June as well, their grandchildren, Lindsay, Melissa, and Alexandra, along with various families, the Fryrich family, the Bell family, Wanda Kauffman, the Jacobson family, the Post family, the Sanders family, the Gribbons family, and the Russell family, all of whom are to be considered today in the category of mourners as well. I think I can best honor Lillian by bestowing upon her the ultimate words we use for a good lady, a good woman, found in Proverbs 31. And I think for all of you today, these are your words of tribute to her. A good woman, who can find her? She's worth far more than rubies. All of you who love Lillian never lack. She set a good example. She sought satisfying work as a teacher. She braced her arms with love, with kindness. Her family, both here today and virtually, praise her. Many have done well, but you, Lillian, outshined them all. So let's give her credit today and let her works praise her at the gates. We're here today to remember, and I state the obvious because I'm sure for all of you, it's been a little bit hectic getting here today and making these arrangements with families scattered all over. And so maybe today is your first opportunity as an extended family to sit and to reflect on Lillian's whole life of 99 years and not let your pain and sadness blot out, but I'm sure some wonderful memories, some of which were shared with me that I will relate to you. And Alexandra is going to say a few words a little bit later in this morning service. Lillian lived a long life. I can imagine what she saw during her 99 years. But I would like to put a little structure and meaning to these moments by sharing with you what I learned from the members of the family. Lillian was born, raised, and schooled and lived most of her adult life in Philadelphia until she moved to Riderwood Village with her husband Jack in 2001. Looking back at the history of the family, I'm told there was much love and liveliness in her family, which consisted of her parents and her younger sister, June. Lillian started wearing hearing aids at age 15 up until her death. Her ears and hearing were a problem all her life, and she had debilitating bouts of vertigo. Amazingly, this did not deter her from pursuing a career and a life filled with music. She loved music at an early age and learned to play the cello. She had wonderful teachers, played chamber music, was in many orchestras. Groups of friends who played string instruments would regularly get together to play at each other's homes. Wherever she traveled in the world, she would meet other musicians for an afternoon or evening to play music. She worked for the public school system of Philadelphia, teaching string instruments to elementary school students, and taught private lessons from her home. She was so creative in how she taught, and her students loved her. And she was extremely dedicated, having to take multiple buses to get to the different schools at which she taught. She loved teaching, she loved children, and she was a people person. Lillian and Jack developed many friendships over the years. They joked about their different groups of friends, calling them the 20-year group, the 40-year group, the 60-year group, and would get together with each group quite regularly, music, dancing, and eating. Lillian and Jack would talk about their different groups of friends with so much love. Her love of music and people continued into her later years when she moved to Riderwood. At Riderwood, she helped form the Riderwood Orchestra, was a hospice volunteer, and wanted to keep learning about the world and the arts, as she was always taking multiple classes, current events, literature courses, right up until the pandemic, constantly meeting friends for lunch or dinner and saying hello to people in the hallways. She truly lived life to the fullest. We're told in our tradition that when a person is born, they're actually given three names, the names that our parents call us and the names that our friends know us by, but the most enduring name is the name to which only God knows us. And those are the names and the qualities that really reflect who we are away from the public. And so it was Isaac and Gail and Karen and others who contributed to these words. They said that Lillian was known by these names by those whose lives she touched. She was sharp, remarkably through her 99th birthday this July. She could still recount long stories involving events from decades ago, people long deceased, in great detail and with a keen sense of humor. They write, "We should all be so lucky as to enjoy the life of the mind as much as Lillian Kauffman throughout the entirety of one's life." Lillian's niece Gail remembers visiting Jack and Lillian when she was growing up. At that time, Uncle Jack would shine and be the center of attention while Aunt Lillian was quieter. After they moved to Riderwood Village in 2001, Gail spent a lot more time with them. She realized that Aunt Lillian was tremendously strong and capable and extremely social. She watched when Lillian and Jack walked into the Riderwood dining room. They would split up, each walking to a different table, chatting with friends, and the whole table would end up smiling and laughing. Then they would then meet at their table after having brightened the whole room. Lillian Kauffman lived a long, active, and interesting life. As Gail Bell states, quote, "She was quite a lady. I loved her, thought of her as my second mother, and was so grateful I had these last 2 decades to really get to know her. My life is better for it." I'm told by Isaac that there will be an opportunity later today to share some stories and memories, and I think Isaac will speak at that time. But Alex, her granddaughter, one of her granddaughters, would like to just share a few words of memory about Lillian.
Hi, I'm Alex. Not really, but okay. Oh, that's a lot. I don't know. I'm like really bad at public speaking. But I just wanted to say that my mom was an amazing woman. I was like absent for the past couple of years, so it was really important for me to be here. Because that woman would do anything for anybody in my family, and I watched her as I was little being the caretaker of everyone. And my mom would always check up on me. She would always call me. She would always write us cards, no matter where I was in my life. She never stopped reaching out to me or caring. And like you mentioned, like she would go into a room in the Riderwood dining room and literally know everybody. Like we would come on visits, and that was like the highlight of our visit, going to Riderwood dining hall so we could like meet all her friends and laugh. And she was just an amazing woman, and she lived a very long, productive life. So instead of being sad, I'm going to try and honor her with happiness, because she was a light in my life. You know, not having much family now, like I realized the part that she did play in my life, even if I wasn't always right there. Just being so supportive to all of us and, you know, making me look up and be what kind of woman I want to be is who my mom was. So that's all. Thank you.
In keeping with what you just said, Alex, the Hasidim have a saying that there are 3 levels of mourning. The lowest level is to cry, and the middle level is to be silent. But the highest form of mourning is to sing, to celebrate Lillian's life and not merely mourn her death. And so when all is said and done, Lillian Kauffman's book of life is fully complete today at the age of 99. And I wanted to choose something that I thought would epitomize what she might want to be saying to all of you today. And so I came across this reading, and may I suggest this is what she would like to say to all of you as her charge. I've learned that our dog doesn't want to eat broccoli either at the age of 7. I've learned that if you want to cheer yourself up, you should try cheering someone else up at age 14. I've learned that silent company is often more healing than words of advice, age 24. I've learned that you can make someone's day by simply sending them a little note, age 44. I've learned that you can tell a lot about a person by the way she handles 3 things: a rainy day, lost luggage, and tangled tree lights. I've learned that making a living is not the same as making a life at age 58. I've learned that if you pursue happiness, it will elude you. But if you focus on your family, the needs of others, your work, meeting new people, and doing the very best you can, happiness will find you, age 65. I've learned that whatever I decide something with kindness, I usually make the right decision, age 72. I've learned that even when I have pains, I don't have to be one, age 82. I've learned that every day you should reach out and touch someone. People love that human touch, holding hands, a warm hug, or just a friendly pat on the back at age 85. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn at age 99. May the memory of Lillian Kauffman, beloved family member, aunt, grandmother, cousin, relative, and friend, always be for a blessing. Amen. O Lord our God, who dispenses life and death in mysterious ways, we ask now that our prayer on Lillian's behalf be accepted. And because of these moments, we recognize the frailty of life. We remember the words, the dust returns unto the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. So Lillian, we say, Afar at biel afar tashuvi, dust you are, and to dust you will return. In Lillian's memory, guide all of you as her loved ones, the faith to capture in your lives even some of those many qualities that you loved her for. This is how you confer upon her a real taste of immortality. And at this hour of goodbye, we pray, God, you forgive any wrongs Lillian may have committed. But remember all that was good, giving, during her 99 years in this land of the living. In this way, her soul will be bound up in the bond of life. God is her portion. And may her memory be for a blessing. Amen. El male rachamim shochein bamromim. Hametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina. Malot kedoshim utahorim kezohar ki amazirim. Nishmat haisha lu shelcha liolama began Eden. Tehei menucha tana balarachamim masti reha b'seiter kanafecha liolamim. Utror bitror hachayim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachalata. V'tanuach b'shalom al nishkava. V'nomar. Amen. O God, exalted, full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your presence to the soul of Lillian Kauffman, who has gone to her eternal home. In Master Mercy, we beseech you, remember all that was good in her life. In this way, Lillian's soul will be bound up in the bond of life. God is her portion, and may she rest in peace. Amen. Since you all represent the collective extended family, both here and looking in, I'd like to ask everyone if they're comfortable standing to please join in Mourner's Cottage. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah. Yalma, Divra, Irute, Yamlich, Malkute. B'chayechon, Yomechon, B'chaye, B'chol, Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala, Ubizman, Kariv, Imru, Amen. Yehi, Shmei, Rabbah, Mevarach, Yalam, Ulalmei, Almaya. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitcha'ar, Yitramam, Yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit daleh, v'yit halal, shmei dekucha, richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma v'yimru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May God, who makes peace in the heavens, bring peace now to Lillian's soul and spare you all from excessive grief and sorrow. Before we conclude the service and invite you to place some earth on the casket, Isaac, is there any announcement that should be made for later?
There's a reception at Riderwood.
Reception at Riderwood following the service today.
At the service, I'll give people some instructions on where to park there.
Okay, we will be given instructions on where to park by Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. Those of you who would now like to participate in the Mitzvah of Burial by placing earth on the casket, we invite you to gather on both sides of the mound of earth and begin. If it's possible, we'd like to have at least one layer of earth covering the top of the casket. Please come forward. On both sides.
I didn't know that there was someone to do that.
Yeah, I can take this.
We have her like that.
I have to.
Alex, again, please.
First people in, I think.
Or the little one, whatever you prefer.
Literally just pour it on. I was like kind of rough. I'm sorry.
No, it's supposed to be that way.
Okay.
I walked upstairs. and knocked. So I get there
Sorry, Mama.
on Main Street. And it's right behind. I'm gonna stay out front. I don't think there's much visitor parking in the lot. There's just a few spaces, but family will stay on whatever's there, and then I'll help carry it. Yep.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, my father did, and then my mother did. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. You gotta make a little. You gotta let the craziness, but whatever next time.
I got you. I'm gonna do it, but I want to get you safe. Just leave it. I'll get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the service. Thank you all for being here today, and please join the family back at Riderwood.
That was before though.
Thanks for your help. It was, clear. Nice. Yeah.
Isaac, I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done. Really appreciate it. There's a lot of work.